Welcome everybody with our channel, and our completely 100% free safety courses. Our free safety course topic is OSHA Noise Safety Part Number 5. This is a complete online course with exam and certificate from our website directly after you pass the exam. You have unlimited trials to pass the exam. Before we start, you are kindly request from you to prepare yourself well and bring a separate paper sheet to take the important notes and use to answer the knowledge check questions. We are sure that you will gain a new experience and knowledge to increase your competency in HSE. If this is your first time with our channel, kindly subscribe and activate the bell to be updated with our news and other courses. Before you start, you should complete Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4 that already in our channel. The first 4 parts links at the video description. If you are ready, let's start. In Module 5 we will discuss the Hearing Conservation Program. After identifying the noise sources hazards and the control measures to protect your employees, each workplace should have a Hearing Conservation Program, HCP. So, let's explore more. Background. As per OSHA requirements, hearing conservation programs strive to prevent initial occupational hearing loss, preserve and protect remaining hearing, and equip workers with the knowledge and hearing protection devices necessary to safeguard themselves. The employer must carry out his responsibilities towards workers in accordance with the law, duty of care, in terms of providing medical care and preventive care for them throughout the period of their work in the facility. In addition to continuous training and awareness, the employer has responsibilities that must be carried out towards the workers in the facility to protect them from the dangers of noise, and to be able to treat it early. This is done by measuring noise levels in the facility and identifying places where exposure levels are greater than legally permitted for treatment, while providing training on how to properly use and take care of hearing protectors. Employers are required to measure noise levels, provide free annual hearing exams, hearing protection, and training, and conduct evaluations of the adequacy of the hearing protectors in use. OSHA's Hearing Conservation Program is designed to protect workers with significant occupational noise exposures from hearing impairment, even if they are subject to such noise exposures over their entire working lifetimes. OSHA recommended the implementation of a program to preserve hearing in any facility to protect its employees from hearing impairment, especially those whose work requires exposure to intense noise on an almost permanent basis. Noise monitoring. The Hearing Conservation Program requires employers to monitor noise exposure levels in a way that accurately identifies employees exposed to noise at or above 85 decibels averaged over 8 working hours, or an 8-hour time-weighted average, TWA. Employers must monitor all employees whose noise exposure is equivalent to or greater than a noise exposure received in 8 hours where the noise level is constantly 85 decibel. One of those principles required by this program is to identify workers who are exposed to an average noise level of 85 decibels or higher during one shift, 8 hours per day, and to monitor them in order to find out early on any change that may occur in the workplace in terms of the noise level to which they are exposed. The exposure measurement must include all continuous, intermittent, and impulsive noise within 80 decibel to 130 decibel range, and must be taken during a typical work situation. This requirement is performance-oriented because it allows employers to choose the monitoring method that best suits each individual situation. This requires the business owner to monitor the level of noise intensity on an ongoing basis. By conducting measurements of all types of noise during normal working days from the level of 80 to 130 decibels. Where there is no danger to the health of the worker if he is exposed to 80 decibels for a period of 8 hours or more, and the momentary damage to his ability to hear when exposed to a level of 130 decibels. Employers must repeat monitoring whenever changes in production, process, or controls increase noise exposure. These changes may mean that more employees need to be included in the program, or that their hearing protectors may no longer provide adequate protection. Monitoring noise levels and monitoring changes in them is the responsibility of the business owner. Accordingly, he must provide trained workers and financial resources to achieve this. Therefore, a risk assessment must be conducted whenever new machines are added to the place, or operating methods or procedures are changed to find out the effects of these changes on the noise level in the place, and then exposure rates by workers, and take the necessary measures to control it. Employees are entitled to observe monitoring procedures and must receive notification of the results of exposure monitoring. The method used to notify employees is left to the employer's discretion. Workers must be involved in the procedures they care about to preserve them, and provide them with information, which raises the morale of the workers. Employers must carefully check or calibrate instruments used for monitoring employee exposures to ensure that the measurements are accurate. Calibration procedures are unique to specific instruments. Employers should follow the manufacturer's instructions to determine when and how extensively to calibrate the instrument. All measuring devices must be calibrated as specified by the manufacturer, in addition to keeping standardization certificates in their own files for reference when needed. Audiometric monitoring. The employer must establish and maintain an audiometric testing program. The important elements of the program include baseline audiograms, annual audiograms, training, and follow-up procedures. Employers must make audiometric testing available at no cost to all employees who are exposed to an action level of 85 decibel or above, measured as an 8-hour TWA. A baseline should be done to compare other measurements in the future to find out any change in the worker's ability to hear in the facility. Such measurements must be carried out periodically and at no cost by the workers.
The audiometric testing program follow-up should indicate whether the employer's hearing conservation program is preventing hearing loss. A licensed or certified audiologist, otolaryngologist, or another physician must be responsible for the program. Both professionals and trained technicians may conduct audiometric testing. However, if specialists are not available in the facility, it is always possible to contract with specialized centers to provide that service, either by directing the workers to it or bringing the specialists with their devices to the facility. To conduct the tests required to implement the audiometry test program, the professional in charge of the program does not have to be present when a qualified technician conducts tests. The professional's responsibilities include overseeing the program and the work of the technicians, reviewing problem audiograms, and determining whether referral is necessary. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration and the Medical Administration are usually involved in this task. In other words, The Occupational Safety and Health Department, for example, supervises the implementation of the noise measurements program in the facility and identifies the places where exposure appears higher than 85 decibels TWA, and then identifies the names of the workers in those places to submit them to the medical department to conduct the necessary measurements, audiogram. The employee needs a referral for further testing when test results are questionable, or when related medical problems are suspected. If additional testing is necessary or if the employer suspects a medical pathology of the ear that is caused or aggravated by wearing hearing protectors, the employer must refer the employee for a clinical audiological evaluation or otological exam, as appropriate. There are two types of audiograms required in the hearing conservation program: baseline and annual audiograms. All workers are treated for any related medical problems at the expense of the employer. Baseline audiogram. As per the figure, the baseline audiogram is the reference audiogram against which future audiograms are compared. Employers must provide baseline audiograms within 6 months of an employee's first exposure at or above an 8-hour TWA of 85 decibel. An exception is allowed when the employer uses a mobile test van for audiograms. In these instances, baseline audiograms must be completed within 1 year after an employee's first exposure to workplace noise at or above a TWA of 85 decibel. Employees, however, must be fitted with, issued, and required to wear hearing protectors whenever they are exposed to noise levels above a TWA of 85 decibel. For any period exceeding 6 months after their first exposure until the baseline audiogram is conducted. Annual audiogram. Employers must provide annual audiograms within 1 year of the baseline. It is important to test workers' hearing annually to identify deterioration in their hearing ability as early as possible. This enables employers to initiate protective follow-up measures before hearing loss progresses. Employers must compare annual audiograms to baseline audiograms to determine whether the audiogram is valid and whether the employee has lost hearing ability or experienced a standard threshold shift, STS. The employer must provide an annual hearing examination without any cost to the workers in the establishment to compare it with the initial examination, to be assured that there has been no deterioration in the worker's ability to hear, and to take the necessary action in case it is proved otherwise. Hearing protectors. Employers must provide hearing protectors to all workers exposed to 8-hour TWA noise levels of 85 decibel or above. This requirement ensures that employees have access to protectors before they experience any hearing loss. It is the responsibility of the employer to provide all types of hearing protection for workers. Those who are exposed to a noise level of 85 decibels, TWA, or more for 8 working hours. Employees must wear hearing protectors for any period exceeding 6 months from the time they are first exposed to 8-hour TWA noise levels of 85 decibel or above, until they receive their baseline audiograms if these tests are delayed due to mobile test van scheduling. If they have incurred standard threshold shifts that demonstrate they are susceptible to noise. If they are exposed to noise over the permissible exposure limit of 90 decibel over an 8-hour TWA. The employer's provision of hearing protectors is not a matter of welfare for workers, but it is a legal responsibility. The employer must also involve the workers in choosing hearing protectors under the supervision of trained personnel, so that the technical aspects, suitability for noise exposure rates, and comfort during their use by the workers are combined. Employers must provide employees with a selection of at least one variety of hearing plug, and one variety of hearing muff. Employees should decide, with the help of a person trained to fit hearing protectors, which size and type protector is most suitable for the working environment. The protector selected should be comfortable to wear and offer sufficient protection to prevent hearing loss. Hearing protection devices protect the sensitive inner part of the ear from damage by reducing exposure, and there are two main types: hearing protectors and earplugs. But for it to be effective, it must are chosen correctly. They are worn appropriately. It is cleaned and taken care of. It should only be used when needed. Earplugs. There are two types of earplugs. The classic foam earplugs are disposable. The plastic, it is for repeated use. If it is not damaged, it can be washed with soap and water to clean it, then stored in a clean case to be reused when needed. Wearing earplug correctly. Now the question is how to wear the earplug correctly. As seen from the photos, the first two up photos illustrate the correct wearing, which mean that earplugs fit properly in the ear cavity to reduce noise. Two down photos which represent the not correct wearing, which mean that the plugs were not installed at an appropriate depth, insufficient sealing, so protection is weak. Earmuffs. Firstly, we need to check the earmuff fit. While in a noisy environment, place the palms of both hands on both guards and press them toward the head. If the noise level is any different from both cases, remove the hearing protectors and put them on again. Wearing earmuff correctly. The correct installation. Hearing protectors must be fitted correctly over the ears. Make sure that hair or glasses frame are outside the scope of the cover because this works to reduce noise protection. As per the attached photos. Care and cleaning. Care and cleaning of reusable hearing protectors and earplugs. Both are designed for frequent use. Visually inspect before each use for any contamination, dryness, cracking, or damage. Cracked or damaged parts to be replaced if there are spare parts available. It is washed using a piece of cloth dampened in warm soapy water, then rinsed and dried, or using wet wipes from the manufacturer of the hearing protectors. In addition, hearing protectors must adequately reduce the noise level for each employee's work environment. Most employers use the noise reduction rating, NRR, that represents the protector's ability to reduce noise under ideal laboratory conditions. The employer then adjusts the NRR to reflect noise reduction in the actual working environment. The higher the noise reduction rating, NRR, value, the more protection this type of hearing protector provides. The employer must re-evaluate the suitability of the employee's hearing protector whenever a change in working conditions may make it inadequate. If workplace noise levels increase, employees must give employees more effective protectors. The protector must reduce employee exposures to at least 90 decibel and to 85 decibel when an STS already has occurred in the worker's hearing. Employers must show employees how to use and care for their protectors, and supervise them on the job to ensure that they continue to wear them correctly. Hearing protection should be provided based on the level of noise to which workers are exposed. In other words, these protectors must be changed to keep up with the noise level whenever it is changed. If they are worn correctly and are in good condition. Continuous training of workers on how to use it correctly. And check it to find out the extent of its effectiveness in addition to how to take care of it. Double hearing protection. The double hearing protection should be used for high noise levels. As for OSHA, double protection must be provided if the noise exposure limit becomes 105 decibels TWA or more for a period of 8 hours for minors. American National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, has mandated the use of dual hearing protection at an exposure limit of 100 decibel TWA or more. As for a company such as ExxonMobil Petroleum, it obligated its employees to use double protection at an exposure limit of 95 decibel TWA or more. From the foregoing, the authorities entrusted with occupational health and safety converge with each other when determining the levels at which workers must use double protection. Other parties have reduced the exposure limit that requires double protection to less than 100 decibel TWA for a period of 8 hours. So, the wisdom of that is to provide protection for workers when the level of exposure rises in general. Employee training. Employee training is very important. Workers who understand the reasons for the hearing conservation programs and the need to protect their hearing will be more motivated to wear their protectors and take audiometric tests. Must train employees exposed to TWAs of 85 decibel and above at least annually in the effects of noise, the purpose, advantages, and disadvantages of various types of hearing protectors, the selection, fit, and care of protectors, and the purpose and procedures of audiometric testing. Training is the mainstone of enabling workers to protect themselves from noise hazards. Any facility can provide protection tools, but if the workers are not well trained and aware of the dangers of noise in relation to their health, the workers will not be interested in using these means on an ongoing basis. The training program may be structured in any format, with different portions conducted by different individuals, and at different times, if the required topics are covered. Employers must keep noise exposure measurement records for 2 years. Records of audiometric test results for the duration of the affected employee's employment. Audiometric test records must include the employee's name and job classification, date, examiner's name, date of the last acoustic or exhaustive calibration. Measurements of the background sound pressure levels in audiometric test rooms, and the employee's most recent noise exposure measurement. Record keeping. Record keeping assists employers in recognizing and correcting hazards. Employers must maintain accurate exposure records for 2 years. Audiometric test records must be retained for duration of employment. As required by the noise standard must be accessible to employees, former employees, their representatives, and OSHA. Employers who cease to do business must transfer records to successor employer. The records of the hearing preservation program and its results should be kept in the medical administration or the occupational safety and health administration, or both, for the purpose of reference. Now let's check your knowledge. Read the questions carefully and write your answer in a separate sheet to check your knowledge at the end of the part. Question 13. Employers must monitor all employees whose noise exposure is equivalent to or greater than a noise received in how many hours where the noise level is constantly 85 decibel? 1. 10. 2. 12. 3. 8. 4. 4. Question 14. Which below are types of audiograms required in the hearing conservation program? 1. Baseline. 2. Annual. 3. Baseline and annual. 4. Emergency. Question 15. Employers must keep noise exposure measurement records for how many years? 1. 2. 2. 3. 3. 4. 4. 5. Question 16. Exposure to impulsive or impact noise should not exceed how many decibel peak sound pressure level? 1. 90. 2. 140. 3. 120. 160. It's your turn now to check your answers at your sheet. Question 13. Employers must monitor all employees whose noise exposure is equivalent to or greater than a noise exposure received 8 hours where the noise level is constantly 85 decibel. So, answer is number C. Question 14. Baseline and annual audiograms required in the hearing conservation program. So, the correct answer in number C. Question 15. Employers must keep noise exposure measures for how 2 years? The correct answer is A. Q16. The correct answer is B, or 140 decibel. Exposure to impulsive or impact noise should not exceed 140 decibel peak sound pressure level. Congratulations, you complete Part 5 successfully. Complete the course modules by access to our site, and pass the exam. Then you will get your certificate automatically approved from OSHA Planet. This is a 100% completely free safety course in our. Do not forget, if this is your first time with our channel, kindly subscribe and activate the bell to be updated with our information, news and courses. Thank you.